that's cool too, but I'm talking about the. That's awesome.
Not sure who we're on.
It's like those golden shovels they get out at all the groundbreakings.
Yeah.
Temple groundbreakings. Or actually, the Clyde they did that. I saw a golden shovel from the Clyde.
I had the one where they got to do the backhoe.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Liz, you're way down there.
I know. I'm like, hello.
You
Come
could
over,
probably,
come
you
join
could
the-
probably move down a chair.
Yeah, come join the crowd.
I'm like, do I have to stay where my name tag is? People will know I'm
You're a
not.
much more attractive person to be sitting there than Craig.
Then
so.
Craig. Okay, well, we'll mix it up a little bit tonight. Somebody that's really tall. sits
I
in
know.
these
I know.
chairs. I know.
Mine, I have to jump up and
Planning
down.
commission.
I haven't been able to find Kim's stack of requests to speak. So I have somebody, so I just have to fill out like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can just let us know.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, Troy, is this not working?
It's amazing Kim doesn't show and the world collapses.
It's cool hidden key. I just kind of.
Oh, there it is.
I mean, probably everybody knows that their little thing has a key, but something for me to play with.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, these treats are different than the ones you have.
You know what? I have the yummy chocolates.
Nope, no chocolates. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we'll talk with that guy right there in the white shirt. Can I ask you a question? Would you like to come up and sit up on stand with us? Would that scare you? No. But you can eat some candy. It's up to you. I'll invite you up. I'll invite anybody who's here.
It's safer to sit by Miss Crandall over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got this.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure that gentleman right there in the white shirt. You see him? Go ask him. Yep. Okay. Okay.
She's the one that has to write a little report. That's so cute.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'd like to welcome you to our city council meeting tonight. We appreciate your attendance here. We'll begin by asking, we'd like to excuse Craig Jensen and Chris Sorensen. They are not here. They are both have other commitments. And so there's 4 of us up here. But actually, the 3 most important city people are here. So just so you know, don't tell Chris or Craig that. We'll have an invocation by Mike Snelson, then Liz Crandall will give our pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to meet together as residents of our wonderful community. We're thankful for the opportunity we have tonight to honor one of our stalwart residents and for his many years of service to the city. We're thankful for residents like this that are willing to put forth the time and effort to make our community better. We ask for thy spirit to be here with us so that we can have cordial and civil conversation and that we can get the things accomplished that need to be done. And we do it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Could you all please arise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's green Skittles. All right, I need a motion for approval of this meeting's agenda as announced.
I move to approve the meeting's agenda as written.
You have a motion, second?
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, we'd like to welcome you all here. It's so nice to have people come and take an interest in the festivities tonight. So we're grateful that you're here. If any of you would like to make comment, I understand there's a couple people who are here to make comments. Anybody else, you're welcome to come up. We have a piece of paper. Kim Crane, who is the one who has the actual form, she's in St. George at a conference, and we don't know where she stashed them. So we'll have you fill this out. And the reason we do this is so we can make sure that it's a public record there. We'd also like to welcome any scouts or school kids who are here, and many of them come here as they have different classes. We invite them, any school kids that would like to, they can come sit on the stand here with us. And we invite them to come up if they'd like to. Generally, they find the drawer here that's full of candy, and usually they're eating candy and on a sugar high by the time they leave, so it's a lot of fun. So this young lady here is here with her school, and we've invited her to come up, and if there's anyone else, you are welcome to come up and sit with us up here on the stand. First of all, we'd like to do the Mayor's Awards. So Cassandra, if you'd like to come up, and we'll make some presentations. We appreciate her and for her ability to honor a number of our youth citizens. We're very grateful for them, and so we'll turn the time over to her.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, City Council and the Mayor. I have 3 wonderful youth that I'm going to be presenting to you tonight to receive this Mayor's Award certificate. We will start with Tate Fit. Tate, will you please come up here? So I have the opportunity to teach the art class for the city as well. And Tate is in my art class. Well, he was in the spring, actually. And he stood out because he was the perfect example of doing everything right. He kind of set the tone for the whole entire classroom. So if people started to get out of line, Tate always did everything right. He was never out of line. He was a full follower, and everyone just kind of followed suit because they saw him doing what they should be doing. Does that make sense? So he was always so great, such a good example, so kind, and of course, such a good artist. So I'd like to present Tate Fit, and we'll give a round of applause right now. And then the next one is Rose Chain. Rose, will you come up here? Oh, Tate, say it real quick, sorry. And then the mayor will present you with the certificate and a picture. Okay, so I'm supposed to be doing this to the city council sometimes.
That's okay. It's all good, man.
Okay, so this is Rose, and she's also in my art class, and she stood out to me because she's so gracious and full of gratitude. She was always bringing people cards. She was always making things for people, and she would always say thank you for every single thing. Everything that she ever received, she was so grateful for. And I love that as an attribute, and I think everyone and more people should be more like Rose and be so grateful for everything. Bye, Tate. All right. And last but not least, we have Ava. Ava Ars, come up here, please. All right, come here. So Ava, she stood out to me in the class that we had because she was so kind and so helpful. We had a new little girl come into the class a little bit late, and she's the one that volunteered to help her with her projects because she's so kind. I didn't even have to sign her. She just volunteered on help her. She was so helpful, right? And we made her feel so awesome. So she's so kind and so giving and aware of other kids. And for her age, I think that's a great attribute. So thank you so much.
Okay, here we go.
I'm going to take pictures.
We got Ava. There we go. Congratulations to you. Well done. Tate. Congratulations. Well done. And Rose. Beautiful. Thank you so very much. Okay, now turn around because they're going to take pictures of us. And I did my hair just for you guys.
Yes, you did.
And parents are welcome to take pictures as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Are we good? Oh, we got another one. All right. Wonderful.
Hey, you weren't in it. Can you
Oh,
get in?
sure. Yeah. I'll be the other bookend.
There we
Perfect.
go. All right, man. That's great. Thank you very
And
much.
here is your appreciation from the city. Thank you guys so much for being these amazing
What a nice honor it is to be able to take young people and to congratulate them on simple acts of service in society. So we're very grateful for that. Sometimes we see people who are in the limelight, and there's certainly a lot of very good people who are very quietly going about doing good things. So we're very grateful for them. So that's great. Okay. It's a real honor to turn over to Hank Clinton, our fire chief, for a presentation. So, Hank, we'll turn the time over to you. And I've never seen him so dressed up, so.
All right, there's too many people here for me to cry. I'm a little embarrassed. I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and especially those that are here for Chief Jackson. I told myself this isn't the time to cry, but I rarely get through these events. I will tell you, if I knew there was a candy drawer, I'd been sitting up there with you a long time ago. Tonight's special, we usually do a retirement with the fire department at the fire station on a Wednesday night. The whole fire department there, family. But there's only 3 volunteers left. And we're doing what we can to resurrect and keep the volunteers going. We need and appreciate their support. But there's a time limit to everything you do. And Jeff has met his time limit. The average volunteer firefighter puts in 3 to 5 years of service. And Chief Jackson has put in over 23. That alone is amazing. Plus what he's done is amazing. So when I got hired, I met Chief Jackson. He wasn't Chief Jackson then, he was Firefighter Jackson. I cried on the phone talking to Martea, just talking about tonight. It's hard to say goodbye. But I met him as Firefighter Jackson. I was given a task to do 3 things: combine fire and EMS, which was not easy because culture. It's hard to change cultures and people have fears. But to change and convert and combine fire with EMS to institute approved and appropriate hiring practices, and not that they were different, we just needed to change them, and to bring professionalism to the fire department. And I took note that Chief Jackson was bringing professionalism as well as his friends and his brothers and sisters in the fire department. 10 years before I got here, he was one of the first group to take on the extra training and the certifications to become a firefighter, and that was a big deal. And if I remember the stories that were told me, a lot of firefighters quit over that. It was a lot of extra work. He took that on. Then I remember coming in, well, my first day, I walked in, and I walked into the bay, and there was nothing but red helmets sitting up in their lockers. I remember asking them, is everybody a captain here? And realized that they just liked red helmets. But so I realized we got to bring leadership into this organization. And Chief Jackson responded to that call and took on, again, more training. It was competitive. He made it to the captain's rank. He served the department well. He did an outstanding job. And then we introduced assistant chiefs and another level of testing. And that's where Chief Jackson competed with a group of gentlemen and was successful being an assistant chief. He's just done an outstanding job. I can't remember what I've already said, but to serve for 23 and a half years, it's not going to happen again. Not in my life. So I thought we should acknowledge that benchmark. It's huge. I'm thankful that Marte could keep her secret. How long did you?
Till we walked in.
And you saw the flames in the window?
Oh,
and-
no, it was Russ and the guys in the back.
Okay.
They thought, there's no way they're gonna come to city council meeting.
So we tricked him for a long time, and thank you for that and for the rest of the time that it kept it a secret. And I don't know why we had to keep it a secret, but we didn't think you'd come. And so we kept it a secret. This is huge. Jeff has stood by my side on so many fires. He's been such an important contributor to this fire department. I can't thank you enough. It's amazing. So I'd like you to come up. Yeah, you hug. I cried when he came in my office. When he told me he was leaving. I'm gonna miss you. But there's a couple things we'd like to say goodbye with you. You don't know I have your badge. But probably it's important to him because it's got his number on it that he had for 23 years. I'll never forget when we looked at the roster and had to change things that he said, "Can I keep my number?" So yeah. You can keep your number. Here's your helmet. And one other thing, I don't know if I can
Lifted.
Oh, no. I tell you, I was scared just bringing it over. So, we've got a plaque to commemorate your service. Again, it's got your number. Springville Fire and Rescue, Assistant Jeff Jackson. This is in appreciation of over 23 years of dedicated service to the Springville City Fire Department. I can't thank you enough. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Chief.
I don't know how you're going to get home.
I have kids.
Okay.
Don't try to take it on an airplane.
For friends and family, we have a meet and greet in the multi-purpose room. If we could just go over there after, I think when we're done here. And then when that's over, give you your last ride home.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Jeff, would you like to say something?
Not really. Yeah, I'm glad she kept it a secret because I don't like this. I really appreciate it, but I get a little embarrassed at times. I'm like Hank, I'm a crier myself. I was trying to hang on as long as I could. I wanted to retire with Hank, but he just keeps going, and I finally went to Hank and just said, I think I'm ready. And I'm like Hank, I cried the whole time, and it was on Arch City Days after the parade. I turned my pager and radio in, and it was hard because the fire department has meant so much to me over the years. The guys, Hank. It just meant so much to me. It was so hard. I felt like I was walking away from him. But it was time that I'd been doing it long enough that I was ready to go. And I'd like to tell Hank how thankful I am. I appreciate everything he's done for me, not only through the fire service, but personally in my life. Hank's meant a lot to me, and I appreciate it. And all the firefighters, I appreciate it. And a lot of the new guys don't know me, but a lot of the older guys do, and I appreciate the friendship. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and Martea keeping it a secret. I would have came, but she would probably have to drag me. So, but thank you everyone that came tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. You know, it's people like Jeff and many others who have the kind of personality to give back. And there are show horses, and then there's workhorses, and he is a workhorse, and we're grateful to have him as well as many others in the community. So thank you, and we honor you, and we're very grateful for you. We really are. So thank you. So I would love to join you for cake, but I'm going to have to stay here. So, but there's cake in the other room, and those who are with that, with him being honored, you're more than welcome to stay. But I certainly wouldn't be offended if you went in there and got some sweets. So anyway, thanks again for being here. That's something.
None of us had the right name. I thought it was just me.
The name fits.
Yeah. Oh, very much.
No.
Okay, we're going to have a chance for people to give public comment. Mark, you're here. We're grateful that you would come here, so come right up to the podium, and you're welcome to make a statement in relationship to your topic. If you'd like to introduce it, and then tell us what's on your mind.
Hey, I'm afraid I'm going to ruin the party tonight.
It's okay. Take 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, and we can't take any official action, but we want you to
Well, I
always
know-
feel
I don't-
comfortable saying
I don't
so.
know exactly who I should be talking to.
Well, just lay it
No
out
problem.
there, and
I'll
we'll
try
go
to get
from
over
there.
this pertains to the school. It pertains to our yard work in our city.
Mm-hmm.
I had to adopt a young lady who was nearly killed in a truck accident, and she couldn't do anything. But because of insurance company, she's had to work and work and work. When she gets home, she's dead tired over the weekend and hardly be able to make it through a day. So I've been helping her, kind of adopted her because there's no one else in the state. And so her yard has been kind of let down a little bit. I received this from her, a letter from the person who's going to sue her, put a fine on her if she doesn't have her yard picked up. I talked to the power company that was cutting down limbs off the power that goes between her and her neighbor's yard. And the neighbor says, you got to get that out of here. So I went down there, and I'm only 90 years old and about half crippled, and cut up all these limbs to clear it away. And when I saw the power man, he said, we were coming to get those at 5 o'clock. But the lady next door didn't say anything about it. She just wanted all that stuff out of the road. When I talked to the power man, he says, well, your backyard's not very bad. There's a few weeds because she can't go out and cut them. And the neighbor's been belly aching about some weeds. Well, the big problem is that when she irrigates, the water runs through her yard and into her basement. And it's caused thousands of dollars of damage. She came down and has talked to the police department a few times about it, and they just passed it off. One day in 2001, they sent the SWAT team to her house and ready to knock down her door because they wouldn't answer the door. Well, because her daughter was abused at school and strung and knocked to the floor and got a big gash on her head, she had to leave school. So she was working with her computer in the basement. Well, the water ruined that. So now she's out without that. And it's just one problem after another. So I don't know who would be in charge of going up. I've got a list here of this, plus about 10 other houses that are worse with their yards than hers. I've gone up and cleaned limbs off from it, mowed her lawn a couple of times, and unloaded a trailer load of stuff out of her backyard. And the power man says, well, that yard's really not that bad. When he was there. But she's got a neighbor on the south that has a whole bunch of cars parked in the driveway, and they're coming at all different hours, so I don't know what's going on in that. And the lady on this side is complaining because of the weeds. So I don't know who to see to go out to have her get some help. She has to work to support her daughter and herself. Her husband left her high and dry with no alimony or nothing, and then she's just sick. Wasn't for me, I don't know where she'd be. She'd be in her house, starved to death. And because her daughter was beat up at the school, and the principal just passed it off, believed the kids, that, oh, she fell, but she had bruises around her neck where they'd grabbed her around the neck. You don't get those when you fall. A big gash in her head, she still got a scar. So she's afraid to answer a door. And so her mother is tired in bed. She can't get out of bed to answer the door. And so when people come, she just gets no help. So I don't know where to go. The city's been neglected in a way of listening to the neighbors rather than coming out and personally talking to her. So
Okay.
that's the problem I've got.
So is this a ticket from the ordinance?
This is from Officer Willardson.
Okay. Yeah, he's a code enforcement officer.
So,
And so I don't know just how I help her. If I wasn't there, they'd starve to death.
Right.
So perhaps if we can get copies of that, we can make an assignment as staff to make some contacts tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah, I think what we're looking for is somebody from community action. Yeah.
We'll make a copy and bring it back. You have copies of both those? Fantastic. Thank you.
I want to make sure I had copies because
Yeah.
I have to stand by what's written
Yep.
and not hearsay. And that's what a lot of this neighbor's been doing, is the hearsay.
What do you know what her address is, or your address? Are you right by there?
This is 650
It's written on.
Oh,
South,
okay.
First East.
650 South, First East. Okay. Okay.
So I'd
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for bringing it to our
And-
attention, and we'll.
Whichever department might be able to do a little bit of help there, she'd appreciate it. But when you come knock on the door, you got to stay there for a while because the daughter will not answer it because she's afraid.
But we've got your name and number, and I'll bet you they have a
I've
pretty
got
good.
my,
Yep.
have I got my name and number on
We,
it?
you wrote it down
You-
for
Yes,
us.
I've
wrote
got it
on the
right
book,
here.
So
Yep. Yep.
whatever help we can get, we appreciate
All
it.
right. Thanks, Mark. We
Thank you.
appreciate you
Thanks.
coming. Diane Gent.
Hi. Well, I'm real new at this, and I'm sure glad I was here tonight to witness what we just, with the fire volunteer. Did he volunteer for 23 years?
Yep.
Wow. I was speaking with some police officers, and I asked them what city has more crime, Springville or Spanish Fork, and they said Springville by far, and they felt like it was, if I'm remembering correctly, because of, is it subsidized housing or, anyway, I was, and then I called the sheriff here, and he said he thinks that it's because we're more proactive, you know, so, but I am concerned about crime and the impression that our city gives, and one thing that I think would help our city is our storefront, which is 400 South, the main entrance into the city. I feel like the trees in the median should be maintained nicer. I feel like that gives a feel to people that the city is being kept up and people are paying attention. I was wondering what that monstrosity building west of Smith's is and what's holding up the construction, and I would be embarrassed to have my name on that site. It's a mess and a real eyesore. So anyway, I'm kind of new at all this. I just was elected a year ago to be on the HOA board at the 55 and older community here, and so I'm just learning how really involved we can be as citizens, and I appreciate it. So I don't know if
Well, thank you very much. Again, it's just letting us know what your concerns are, and you know there are some things, and to let the other people also and staff talk about. But our police department is more proactive, and we want to be proactive. And those kind of things do register on and we're willing to accept that. We've openly talked about this in meetings, that we'd rather be proactive and maybe have higher statistics than to try to have lower statistics in relationship to those. But that may help you just a little bit. If you want to know a little bit about the building itself, Josh Yost, there he is back there. He can give you an idea of kind of what's going on. But we're very grateful that you would come and give your concerns and represent the 55 and older. So
and then the upkeep on the street and the entrance into the city.
I think that's Stacy Child, and she's already made
And
note.
she's
I know
great.
that.
She's been working with me
Yep,
on the
yep,
HOA board,
yep.
and I appreciate Stacy.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very much for being here. And those who are not over 55. Okay, we'll enter the portion of our meeting that is the consent agenda. There's some items on there that, any questions in relationship to the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion. Excuse me. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye.
It's roll.
Oh, nice. So it is. Okay, Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Snelson?
Yes.
Ms. Crandall?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, Kim would do this, but we're going to do the Board of Canvassers. So this is really the sum total of the election, the primary election that just took place. So.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Kim is out of the office today. She's one of the leaders of the Utah Clerks Association. Their conferences this week, they certainly didn't anticipate this to be a canvass week when they scheduled this many months ago. But with the change due to the special congressional election, it fell on this night, and at her request, I'm pinch hitting for her. Before you are some of the results we'll go through on the primary election that took place on September 5th. Of this year, we had a turnout of 23.54%. Make of that as you will. It's higher than we've seen in some general elections at the local level. It's certainly much lower than we see on some national elections. A total of over 4,000 votes cast. Here are the results. The official results that were released by the county this morning, just about 12 hours ago. With a total of 10,530 votes. People can cast up to 3 votes in their ballot. 6 candidates move forward to the general election. So as you see before you there, Nathan Shaw and Dallas McGee have been eliminated. We checked the law this morning. While the percentages are fairly close there, near the bottom, they are not close enough for a candidate to request a recount. I have, and you may have printed out from the information, but there is also some additional information available on a per precinct area if you're interested in that. So those are the candidates moving on to the general election. Before we get to the resolution, just a couple of things. Here's the upcoming calendar. The candidate list goes to the printer next week, so the turnaround is actually fairly quick, and ballots are transmitted to our military and overseas voters just a few weeks after that. The general election day will be on November 21st this year. That's the week of Thanksgiving. And I think you may recall, again, this election cycle had a bunch of unusual things in it. Traditionally, ballots have to be postmarked the day before Election Day if you drop them in the mail. That was not the case for the primary, but it is the case on the general election. And December 5th is when we'll do this same type of approach for the general election results, which will result in 3 new members of the city council being elected and anticipated being seated in January. You have a resolution in front of you as a council and the Board of Canvassers. You're to review the information that's before you and certify it as to being accurate. And so if you have any questions or concerns, we'd be happy to take them now. Otherwise, you can consider the resolution.
How many votes will be allowed to be cast on the general election, seeing that there's 3 seats available?
Yeah, you will select 3 candidates again. Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve. Oh, sorry.
Oh, please go ahead.
I guess I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-30, approving and certifying the Board of Canvassers official report of the September 5th, 2023 municipal primary election for Springville City, Utah.
Okay, I have a motion, a second.
I'll second.
It's a roll call vote. Mr. Snelson?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I thought you might be interested. I probably should have done when I was up there. Only 42 people either voted early or in person on Election Day. So of over 4,120 votes, only 42 did it in person. All the rest were vote by mail.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's certainly helped our participation, is to send it out by mail. Okay, Mr. Penrod?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. This first lease agreement, we have 2 lease agreements before the council tonight. This first lease agreement is dealing with the property up the canyon that the city purchased roughly 3 years ago. And what has happened with that property since, the city has had people interested in purchasing it. We've had a number of different other parks properties we're doing. We're still trying to figure out really the planning on this property. And so in looking at this property, again, it's 72 acres. It's up a left-hand fork of Hobble Creek. You can see the outline of it like here. If you go down about half a mile, you're down south, just down this road, you'd run into Rotary Park, so that kind of shows you where this property is. The lease before you is to lease 3 out of the 4 houses on the property, and it's with property owners that the city purchased the property from. And what has happened since we've purchased the property is the property owners who have been living in these homes have been taking care of the property. And we'll get into that in a little more detail. But what the lease before you would do is allow them to lease a home that as you come into the property, it's in the 1950s is when it was built. It's a very small home. It looks like a small cabin as you come in. There is probably the nicest home is right here. It's right by the creek. And then you have 2 other homes that are down a lane and on the east side of the property before it goes up the canyon, or before it becomes pretty steep up the canyon there. And so what you have is a house that's, I think, the 1960s here, the 1970s over here. And I've been through these houses recently. They're not in the best of shape. As part of this lease, the city would not be required to do anything to maintain these houses. All the maintenance and costs would be on the people who would continue to be in the properties if the council decides to move forward with these leases. Now here's the term of the lease. Looking at the 3 different houses and doing a comparable, the rent on the 3 different houses on an annual basis would be roughly $53,000. In looking at a price to lease these 3 houses, $50,000 roughly would be to manage the property. We currently have a private company that helps us with mowing and irrigation in all of our parks properties. We reached out to them to find out what they would charge to maintain this, and the homeowners have done a pretty good job of maintaining it, but they would be right around almost $38,000 a year. Part of this irrigation too is kind of the old farm irrigation where they actually have to pick up the pipes and move them, and they do that every day through different locations. The other thing that they do is they clear out this stream every spring, and there's other tree work that happens on the property. They spend roughly 400 hours a year doing cleaning out the creek and also with tree work. Just a rough $15 an hour. That gives that $6,000. And then also too, they also make sure that people aren't up there camping on the property or doing something that the city wouldn't want them to do. And so that's something else they're doing. Right now, our Parks Property, our department, our Parks and Rec, are looking at ways to program the property. This lease limits it to the 3 different houses, and so that's the only houses that they could they're secure in. They can use some of the other facilities until such time that the rec department says we want to use those facilities for programming. There is one thing under the lease that as I was looking at it today, there's a provision that I would like to see changed. The term of the lease, right now, the current lease has the individuals in the home staying there till the 31st of this year, or this coming December. The lease would extend that to May 31st, 2024, and then the way it would work is it would be an annual lease that it would every year would be from May to May. So it would just be an annual lease that way. And in there it says, hey, we have until December 31st the prior year to say, hey, you have to be out at May 31st. There is a provision in there, though, that does allow the lessee to vacate with a 90-day notice. I would suggest that we still follow this original term with subsequent annual years, but also let that 90 days be reciprocal in case we have some kind of great opportunity where we need them out in 90 days, just given a few things that have happened recently.
Thank you. I
That we
appreciate
can't
that.
discuss right here. So the other thing is there would be, they carry insurance on the property, and then also they will indemnify the city should anything happen.
So, John, on this property, it's city property, these guys are leasing just these 3 little places. Is the public allowed to go onto that property currently, since it's owned by the city?
We have not opened it up to the public yet. That's one of the things that Parks and Rec's looking at is how can they really make this a nice place for the city to use. Until the 31st of this year, though, as part of the deal that was entered into the city 3 years ago, nobody could go on the property. So it really would be this coming spring that we really could open it up to the public. And so there are some nice areas along the creek, especially in this area. There are some bathrooms that would be great for the public to use. We'd need to put some money into those bathrooms just to make, basically to bring them up to date. Most of the infrastructure that's in right now was put in the 70s. There was another group, a church group that kind of ran this property at that time. But yeah, it's a beautiful property, and I think it'd be great for opening it up to the public.
Well, plus the pavilion. I mean, our current canyon pavilions are pretty much booked out right
Yes.
when they open, so one more pavilion would be very helpful.
Yeah, and it's an interesting pavilion because the pavilion does open up. It's a closed pavilion, but it opens up on the sides. And there's actually it was used for church services, and so there's actually a pulpit and everything. So, but it's a beautiful pavilion inside, great woodwork, and just a great amenity. And I think the public's going to love it.
Other questions for John? I can see that. Did we clear up the boundaries? Because I can see these overlapping boundaries on this. I know that's a sidebar, but did we ever get those cleared up when we bought it?
We haven't got it cleared up, but if you look right here, if you just kind of shift everything over, this is one of those properties, because it's in the canyon, it's really hard to get surveyors up there.
I know.
Because the canyon's such a mess. And so it is something that we have, before we lost our last surveyor, so it's been several years, we were working on, but it's just hard to get anybody to do something up there.
Yep. Liz and I know this. Okay, other questions for John? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-31, approving the land lease agreement regarding the city's lease of a portion of the property located at 140 Hollow Creek Canyon and identified by parcel number 16.057:0018 to Clint and Christina Haveron.
Okay, I have a motion. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Okay, you're on again, John.
Mayor and council, this next property is by the new roundabout. And just to give you a little bit of history, when I say the new roundabout, I assume everybody knows what I'm talking about. But it's the little roundabout is at the top of the road as you're coming up from the high school. And it's with the Brooks. Melissa Brooks is here this evening.
You looked familiar.
Yes. And so just a little history on the property to the north of the Brooks. The Brooks live in this home, and their yard is, I went and visited with Melissa, and I've spoken with her husband, and they've done just wonderful things on their property. The property to the north of their home was purchased by the city several years ago. And when they city purchased it, there was a home on the property. The city knocked down the home. And I don't know why this happened, but you can kind of see a tree line here. And for some reason, the city grassed and put in kind of a nice irrigation system. There's a trail that comes through the property and a few things like that. But the back portion of the property, they didn't do any improvements to. And so the back portion of the property has, it was just kind of sad. It was lots of weeds, that sort of thing. The Brooks have been kind enough to help maintain it since that time. The other thing, too, that I learned when I visited with Melissa at her house is there's a ditch that runs, I believe, in this location, and it has started flooding, and they've had 3 floods come onto their house from that ditch. One got into the basement, the other 2, I believe, were just on the property, but still, that can be kind of nerve-wracking.
Is it storm water or irrigation water?
It's irrigation water. And so what we have with this lease would be an opportunity for the Brooks to lease the back portion of the property, to maintain it, and to basically take care of it until the city is ready to use the property. I have done a very crude kind of rendition of what that roundabout looks like. But one of the issues that we've had with the roundabout being in this location, you can kind of see at the angle that the Brooks driveway is located. It is really hard, especially to pull back in. As you can see, they have trailers and that sort of thing that they utilize, but it's next to impossible with this roundabout here to really pull back in and fully utilize their driveway with the way they've been doing it. And so the idea is to allow them to have this property over here until the city develops, however they're going to develop this intersection here. But the Brooks would maintain this. They'd be responsible for all costs to maintain and repair and do whatever on this property. There is a shed on the property, and it's my understanding that that shed was actually part of the house that was here. And so that would be an opportunity for them to maintain that shed and to utilize it. But it also helps with their trailers and a few other things. And so that's what's before you. There would be rent as part of this. It's roughly 8,000 square feet. But there'd be a rental amount of $500 a year, but there'd also be taking care of this property for the city as well. We do have 2 other places in the city that we have very similar leases. One is 8th East and 9th South, where there's going to be a roundabout. We have a property owner maintaining a city property at that location. And then over here on 2nd North, and I don't know, about 200 East, we have a situation there where a property owner is taking care of some right-of-way property that the city has until the city's ready to do something with it as well. So very similar leases. So any questions on this?
Yeah, so just like we did the last one, how is the exit out of this? We can give them how much of a notice?
60 days.
60 days,
Yep,
okay.
both ways.
Okay.
And I'm sure that liability is not there, the way that these leases are.
Yes, and so the Brooks would be required to maintain some insurance on the property, and then also would indemnify the city should something happen with some sort of property damage or something else, bodily damage, that sort of thing.
So, excuse me. Boy, this just chokes me out. Because I've talked to Melissa too. We had a good chat one day. How did the $500 rental amount come about? What's that based on?
It's only based really on precedent. We have brought 2 other leases that are very similar, and that's roughly what they're paying on it.
Okay.
And so I think you could argue that it should be more, but at the same time, they are taking care of a piece of property
I
that the
would
city
argue
just
that it should be less. but-
through there. So, or you could argue it could be less. And I don't think Melissa would go against that.
Especially if they're taking care of that.
Yes.
Because it's a pretty good chunk of property. It's bigger than the property that they own.
Yes.
I would assume that the 500 came as you two talked.
Well, it didn't. We never really talked about the 500.
Oh,
The way this worked is we put together a lease, and Chris sent the lease to Melissa, and I never heard anything back that they went off the 500. But I'm sure that she probably likes what Councilmember Snelson.
Well, I'm not saying
I
just so
don't
she
wanna
likes
say
It
for it.
It just seems if they're gonna take care of that big of a piece of property and make it a nice piece of property temporarily,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's the reason for the discount, not to disagree, but I mean, and I assume that this is, as you're talking about other properties in similar situations, is what we've been doing, so.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about, the one on 8th East and
Yeah.
9th South, and then also the one that's over here on 2nd North. It's very similar to the prices we've done there. Now with this as well, one thing I was noticing as I was putting this slide together, we do have a path that kind of matches up here with this, and so we're gonna have to work with the Brooks before we finalize this, just to make sure that people can still walk to the to the crosswalk there.
You get to do that, but there's so many puncher weeds on that path from personal experience.
Well, I guess it keeps the bikes away, huh?
It does.
So we'll have to do something about that as well.
Okay, well, you've heard Mike's comments, and you guys certainly have the vote. And what would you like to do?
I'm okay with the lease, and I'm okay with them it being less as well than the 500, but it's still, since they are maintaining it, and since we have kind of altered their property a little bit with our roundabout up there, I'm okay with that as well. So either way.
Jason?
on that.
But you also, just to have a contract, you have to have some kind of contractual amount, right? I guess you can knock it down to $1 or something, but
Yeah. Well, again, I was
There's
just
some
going off
exchange
of
of-
what we've done with
Yeah,
other property
yeah,
owners.
so-
So
Are the other properties of similar size to this, or? I know the one on 8th East and 9th South is much smaller than this.
yeah, it's just the
Just a little
corner there.
corner.
Yeah, and I would have to look up the other one too. It's down kind of close to. There's the creek on 2nd North, and there's a house, and then there's some city property, and then I didn't look it up before I came here. The actual sizes. So
And those other properties are renting for $500 a year.
that's my recollection is 500. So in fact, we actually based this lease off of one of those leases. So yes, it was 500. But I mean, if you want to throw out 250, knock it down to 250 and be done, we can do that as well. I mean, I'm just
You're just
giving
throwing-
an
throwing a
example.
number
An
out.
example, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm open for a motion.
Okay, I would like to motion to approve resolution number 2023-32, approving the land lease agreement regarding city's lease of a portion of the property located at 611 Canyon Drive and identified by parcel number 26017, 0006 to Stephen and Melissa Brooks.
Okay, you're doing it as presented then, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Oh,
I'll second.
Okay.
Unless you wanna amend.
Yeah, I'd rather amend.
Okay, sorry, I didn't.
You can amend. Or you
Thanks,
can
Mike.
vote and
Yeah.
die for lack of a,
Yeah, I mean, I'd.
it's
just
whichever
as
way
soon
you
amend
want to
and see
go.
where it goes.
All right, sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
so
Mike.
I'd
Sorry.
like to amend the proposal, the rental amount of $300 per year.
Okay. Okay, let's see, parliamentary rules.
You still need a second.
Oh, I need a
Yeah.
second.
Well, we
Okay.
had a second on the first one, so don't we have to vote on that?
No,
Well,
not with a motion to
Yeah,
amend.
plus your second was conditioned on whether he wanted to.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Okay, so I need a second
Right.
on the amended motion.
No, a second on the amendment
I'll
first.
second
On the
Mike's amended motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the amended motion.
Right, so this is gonna sound a little weird, but you'll vote on the amendment and then you'll vote
on the other one, which will
the
turn
main
down
motion,
if,
yeah.
if it passes on the first amendment. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of the amended motion say aye.
It's a roll
Oops, it's a roll call vote.
Well, not on the amendment, technically. You can call for a roll
Well,
call, so it's fine.
it's a resolution though.
Yeah, but we're voting on the amendment now, not on the main motion.
I'm gonna do a roll call vote and then nobody has any questions. Here we go. Mike?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll go back to the original motion. I have a motion and a second on the resolution.
Right, so to be clear now, based upon the amendment, the resolution is to adopt the lease, but to change the lease amount from $500 to $300, right?
Correct.
So that's what you're voting on.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you know what you're voting on?
Does somebody
So
need to
we need
state
to,
that?
we need to do the new motion, right?
No, you've got it, you amended the.
Oh, yeah,
the
that's right.
sincere- yeah.
Okay, all right.
So it's just,
Okay, the roll call vote. Mr. Snelson?
yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Okay, was that confusing enough for all of you? It's very confusing for me. That did not happen in my household, I want you to know.
Sorry to stir the mud, Mayor.
There's a handy dandy Robert's Rules guide in here.
Yeah,
that John's
yeah.
been using.
Well, I don't think I could have dug it up in
Full
time.
of that.
All right. Are there other items that need to be brought up? I have a couple, so. Okay, we have submitted, thanks to John's efforts, Zemina Martinez, also known as Zemina Bishop. She's receiving a Hispanic Citizen Award, an Outstanding Citizen Award, put on by Congressman Owens. And she's going to be honored on October 5th, a Thursday, up at the state capitol, and I think that's wonderful. I have been invited to come, but I have MAG meeting that night, so I would welcome anybody who'd like to represent the city.
What day is it again?
It's on October 5th it's at 6 o'clock. You have to be there at 6 o'clock, and we have to RSVP, so
Yeah, and I believe that's a Thursday, isn't it?
it is a Thursday, yeah.
October 5th,
Yes.
and it's at 6?
You have to be there at 6 o'clock, yeah.
I can go.
Okay, that's wonderful. And if you just excuse me with her, and I'll try to reach out to her and let her know, so.
Oh, yeah.
And you're welcome. And more than one can go if anybody else wants to go, so.
Will you send me all the details on that?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Okay, yeah, we've gotten an email from it. Anything else that we need to go through? And this young lady, what was your name again?
Maria.
Mariah, thank you so much for being here. That's wonderful. Now, when you get old enough, you can be a city council woman. Wouldn't that be nice? We'd love to have you up here. The candy will be newer. It won't be this old. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Jensen would be proud.
Yeah.
Yes, he would.